Hello, everybody there, right there on the Joe Cronin Show. It's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing you and everyone the very best.
This is the Epic Voice Guy, and I can honestly say Joe Cronin is God. Attitude, insanity, over 10 million views. Don't forget to like, comment, and body slam that subscribe button. The Joe Cronin Show is brought to you by WrestleCrate. WrestleCrate.com. Use the coupon code JoeSentMe for 10% off the month subscription box.
Hey, good evening to everybody. What's going on? It's Joe Cronin. We are fresh off the heels of the WWE Royal Rumble and, of course, Monday Night Raw. You guys have been tweeting and emailing and going crazy all week long. And tonight, we're just going to keep it rolling. We got a great guest tonight. Terri Runnels, the legendary Diva. Here she is with us live. She's going to be on camera, too. Terri, what's going on?
Hi, Joe. I'm just ready to party in my PJs, dude.
You weren't kidding. I actually do have PJ pants on. I have a t-shirt on, but I have PJ pants on, so it kind of counts.
I'm happy that you let me come to the party like this. I own so many pairs of Victoria's Secret flannel pajamas. They are just my favorite uniform.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, you can wear anything. You can wear whatever you want, and it's going to look good. And, if there's a PJ party every Tuesday on my show, I'm ready to go. Tuesdays, I don't go live a lot, so maybe it's PJ party Tuesdays. I don't know.
Love it.
All right. Well, everyone is partying right now, getting ready in the chat. I'm kind of delaying as people figure out that we're live now. Over 100 people already. What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing in the chat? Yeah, you're going to be able to... You're going to be able to comment, and you're going to be able to ask questions to Terri that I'll ask. I'll sift through the questions. You can tweet us as well. And make sure to follow Terri on Twitter as well. The Terri Runnels on Twitter, at The Terri Runnels, at Joe Cronin Show. And I basically kind of, there's a lot of stuff we can cover, but I really want to start sort of at the beginning, because a lot of people maybe don't know how you started in wrestling. And for people that...
Wait. Before you start that, because
okay.
I get so many requests and things like that.
Yeah.
How did this actually come to be? How am I actually doing your show? Did you come to me? Did I go? What happened?
Oh, well, that's a good question. We must have people working for each other, because I think my producer might have reached out to you. What I'm guessing. That's what happened. I'm guessing he reached out to you, sent an email, and then you guys accepted. I assume that's how it happened.
Very interesting, because I, of course, get a plethora of them often,
right. And
there really is no rhyme or reason as to the ones that I choose to do.
Yeah.
Actually, there is a rhyme and a reason, but
you love me. That's why.
But it's just very interesting. So, I literally was sitting here going, now, exactly what made me say yes to this guy?
Right.
Yeah, but look, it's you.
I know.
You, Joe.
I'm adorable. That's why you said right to me.
Precious.
No,
You're
but
precious.
I don't know what it was, but I know that I wanted you on the show, because I told him, hey, these are the 5 people. Let's try these people first. We had Cornette, we had, you, we had, we got a couple other people that are coming up that I can't mention. We just had the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who was great. Did you have any run-ins with Ted during your time?
Run-ins?
Good run-ins, good times.
No, I have a lot of respect for Ted. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Mr. Ted. He's very nice. I don't know if he is familiar with the format of my show, because it's a little bit Howard Stern.
Right.
So he might have, I don't know if, we were really nice, but he might have seen a show or two and been like, I don't know if I would have done that.
So sure about that young Joe Cronin.
Yeah, he was a great guy, but I loved doing it. But no, so I'm glad you're here. I think it was actually amazing, because usually you got to chase people down and stuff like that. But every once in a while, I find that you can send an email and the next day people are on.
Stuff happens, right? I mean, this was, I think it was yesterday, and I said, okay, let's go live tomorrow night, and boom, it happened.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like it this way. But for the people that don't know who you are, the small amount of people, maybe the younger people that didn't get to see you,
The young babies.
right? Do you ever want to maybe get back into wrestling at somewhere, whether it's WWE or ROH or one of these places? Does anything ever come up like that or no?
I've said no to any wrestling, and I would not be opposed to doing something along the lines of what Coach and I used to do with the show Access.
Yeah.
I loved doing that. I had a blast doing that with him. Something like that, I would love to do. I really, the travel schedule again, I wouldn't be crazy about.
Right.
But I mean, the right scenario, right situation. I do think this, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know if I watch the product and how much I watch it. I really don't watch it a lot. Usually, unless Dakota's telling me, her dad's doing something interesting and or funny or whatever, and I tune in. But on the rare occasions that I do, I seem to, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that there is a void where the type of manager that I was is. I don't see a lot of that. So
you're right.
Yeah, I would not be adverse to doing that again as well.
I was happy when you were doing that, but also even later when you started doing it. Like I think you managed the Radicals for a little while. Going back to what you did with with Dustin, with Goldust, that stuff. Yeah, you don't see that anymore. You see Paul Heyman kind of represent Brock Lesnar, but you don't see that manager. And every recent attempt of a manager hasn't really worked out. Like Zeb Coulter didn't work out too well, and I'm surprised that you don't see it more. And I think more people could use it now too. And they don't utilize it. It's very strange. I'd like to see it again. Did Dakota, watching the other day, did she tell you about speaking of her dad, what happened with Kofi Kingston? And I'm sure
that was
oh no,
it's
our
funny.
truth. I'm sorry, not Kofi Kingston. Our truth.
If I'm being really honest, I sat back and was really entertained, and I didn't see the whole thing. I just watched bits and pieces. Of course, I laughed.
Right.
But then there's a part of me inside, because no matter what, I will always, care about Dustin, love Dustin, and respect what he has done.
Yeah.
His talents are ridiculous, and he's so good at what he does. So sometimes I don't like to see him always be so funny and kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
But it's not my place to decide. I'm not his partner anymore. But yeah, I laughed, and then but the protective side of me that always wants him to be lifted and lauded and respected. I was kind of like, I didn't like it a little bit. I liked it and I didn't like it.
I'm the same way. I mean, I don't have the connection that you have, but I'm the same way. I see him and I'm like, that is funny, and he is so capable of easily making everybody laugh. And if he did a big thing where it was a funny deal, like how he did with Booker T, I thought that was really good.
Yes, I agree.
But just for the cheap joke in the back every once in a while, I don't agree. I think he should still be out there. In fact, when he returned a few years ago, he was in spectacular condition and shape, and it was something we talked about here a lot. There was tag team matches. I couldn't believe what he was doing.
It was the best shape of his life. I mean, and I will never go outside of what he has told himself, but he wrote a book about it, and so I feel okay to talk about it. But Dustin traded several addictions for one addiction, and that one addiction became the gym. And I'm so proud of him for that. Dustin used to, in our marriage, it was so funny because he would he had a real love affair with pizza. Just real. It was a strong, solid affair. Yep. And he would always want somebody to write him out a new workout program, and and he would go hard at it for a week or two, and boy, about week 2, 2.5, 3, all of a sudden I'd see him over there. He's on the phone. The next thing I know, ding dong, and it was done at the door. And he would literally take this large pizza into the bedroom, shut the door. He would put a towel over himself and shut the door, as if as if it was his mistress that I was interrupting.
I
It was hilarious.
I can absolutely relate to this. I'm not even joking. I'm a pizza guy. The same deal.
But and the only reason I say that is to say that for him to go from that and never being able to really stick to a plan, to see what he's done now and his still to this day commitment. I think he's on like year 6 or year 7 with his sobriety, and so I'm so proud of him for that, and it makes me really happy to see him in good shape and doing well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I'm very happy for him too, and I'm happy for both of you guys. You just look amazing. It's unbelievable, and that's why I think people always bring up, why don't you do something with a wrestling company or things like that? Why aren't you doing that? Look at how she's amazing looking right now. Like this, she could still do all this stuff. But what are you doing in place of the wrestling to take your mind off of things and to work?
To take my mind off of things? Well, I am working with. I've got something in the coffers, so to speak, that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
That's taking up some of my time. But then I have another thing. I work with a company, a supplement company, and they this is a product that I just will never be without again.
Yeah.
And so I help people get healthy, and I'm spending time being a mom, being a daughter, being a sister. I have going through a little bit of a tough time with family because my brother-in-law has cancer, and it's one of those things where this guy is like salt of the earth, best human being. Like the dude should have a saint written in front of his name, and he runs marathons, he's healthy, he always goes to the doc. I mean, he does everything right. And lives a good life. He's a good man, and it makes me go, okay, God, why him? Like, why not do it to the piece of trash down the street? But anyway, so that is kind of a tough thing that we're dealing with, but everything else is great. Dakota's in her senior year in college.
Yeah.
And I love going up to school and hanging out with her for a week, and we're besties, so we have a great time together.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. I mean, from looking at your videos on YouTube and Twitter and stalking you for a half a second, it just seems like it's a good time, and you're enjoying that. And that's what I gathered out of it. So that's really good. And retirement's been good, but you're keeping yourself busy with the supplements and stuff. So I can't wait to hear what that is. Let me know. We'll promote it, of course. And going back to...
I'm going to interrupt you again.
Oh, yeah.
I promote it in a different way. And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why I do not come out and say what it is is because people will go and they'll buy it and they will have zero support.
Right.
I know that when they get it from me, and I can put them in a support group where they have access to thousands and thousands of people that are taking it, and that they can go, hey, did you have this issue when you first started, or did you experience this or that or whatever? And so if I just tell them, oh, go over there and buy it, then I can't guarantee them the success I can when I know that they are kind of in my stable, if that makes sense. So
I get what you're saying.
I don't put it out there. One guy said to me, oh, well, it must be a piece of shit, thing if you're not going to say the name of it. No, just the opposite. It's just I choose to do it this way so that I can keep control of what my people, I want them to be able to get the help they need. So,
well, it's there's been some really helpful books and some really helpful supplements in the past, and what happens is somebody will, for inflammation, where you have some major inflammation, and over time the inflammation gets worse, and you take this pill that's going to slowly dissolve the inflammation and bring it down, and what they'll do is they'll take the pills for 2 weeks and go, this didn't work, and they'll throw it out, and the next thing you know, they'll write all over the internet, this thing didn't work at all.
Right. Or this one, I love this one. They will say, how any drug that comes out on a commercial, it's like this litany of it causes diarrhea, causes suicidal thoughts, causes this, that, and the other, it could cause death.
Yeah.
But yet you tell them, oh, well, you may go through a small period of detox in the beginning because it works on your blood chemistry, and so you're detoxing your blood.
Right.
And then they freak out because they got nauseated the first day, or that, it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, there's more to it.
You'll take this other drug that costs $300, and has all of these horrible contraindications,
Right.
but you're scared of an all-natural plant-based supplement that will do you good. So
I know exactly what you're saying, and I think it's interesting. Now, but will you be advertising that you put them under this umbrella somewhere? Like, will you say, here's how you can contact me?
I mean, I always say to them, I actually started a new Facebook name strictly for that. Like, don't want to be my friend there to talk wrestling. That's not what I do there.
Yeah.
But that's True Terri, TRUTERRI. So if they're serious and they want, to get help, and the other cool thing I love about this is, my sister, she has experienced horrible fibromyalgia to the point where she just literally, her quality of life sucked.
Yeah.
She tried everything in the book. She tried every medical procedure, anything the doctors would say. We're going to put you to sleep, and we're going to, do this to your spinal column, and you're going to wake up and you're not going to have this pain anymore. And she just tried everything. And so she's the one that actually got me started on it. And somebody gave it to her and said, listen, I hear that this helps with migraines and with fibro, and it also helps you lose weight. That's the side effect. It helps you lose weight. Well, she thought, okay, I don't want to offend this person, so I'll try it just to be nice. And I know it's not going to help my pain at all, but maybe I'll lose a pound or two. So, no big deal. And after about week 4, she realized that she had completely cut out her fibromyalgia drugs, all the Lyrica and all that stuff that she was on. She had no migraines, which my sister has 2 to 3 migraines a week, horrible migraines. And so, like, at first she wanted to poo-poo it and say, it can't be this. That's, I've tried everything. There's no way this can help me.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'll be damned. This is what is doing it. So she's literally, now she's going into her, maybe going on 10, 11 months now. Not one migraine since.
Right.
And she's off all of her drugs.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, someone is out there, like, suffering or dealing with this. And I know a lot of people listen to the show that are, actually, because I'll have people that say, and I know other people probably want to move on, and so we'll move out of this. But for the people that are listening that are like, man, I'm really interested, they tell me, like, I'm in pain, or I'm in the hospital, or I'm at home, and, I have problems, so I listen to your show. Those are the people that maybe will connect with that. And if you're really serious, it sounds like it's the place to go.
I'll be happy to help you.
There you go. You could get help by a legend. Okay.
Onward and upward,
Jeff
Cronin. Let's go.
All right. Everybody wants to. I want to talk about this real quick. I know that, not to go back too far, and I don't want to. Everybody knows kind of a lot of the stories, but it's interesting to me that I didn't know this part about your career. I didn't realize, if this is right, that you worked at CNN is it a makeup artist, or you were doing makeup for CNN?
That's how this whole journey of mine started.
Unbelievable.
Literally. I back when I'll try to make it brief and tell you the story really quickly. I'd gone to college to be a fashion designer, fashion merchandiser, and my father, who could never ever receive the award Father of the Year, basically said, to be rude to my mother, I'm not going to pay for her. If you want her to go to college, you pay for her. One of those real dick moves.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to burden my mother, so I just decided, okay, I'm going to quit college. Well, I'd gone back to my small little town and thought I would go absolutely crazy if I didn't leave again. Like, I did not belong in this little tiny town. And so I called one of my professors and said, help me get out of here. What can I do? So she said, if you don't mind sweeping floors and shampooing hair, my hairdresser needs someone to do that. So I'm like, I'll do anything. Just get me out of here. Right. So I went up there. I'm shampooing hair. One of the anchors for CNN, which was a brand new, 24-hour news network that no one thought would make it. And I'm shampooing her hair, and I'm like, who's the makeup artist at CNN? And she told me the girl's name, Ramona Horton. And so I was on the damn phone to Ramona Horton like all day, every day. And so finally, like on day 30, lesson in persistence here, kids.
Yeah.
She finally said, okay, if you'll come in, I'll interview you.
Yeah.
So I went in and she's like, show me what you can do. Here's an anchor. He's about to go on air. Show me what you can do. And I did my deal, and she hired me right then and there.
Wow.
And because I was the low man on the totem pole, it became my job to do weekends. And on the weekends, a gentleman named Jim Crockett,
Jim Crockett, yeah.
Joe on my
That's 'cause
mind.
I'm here.
Joe on my mind. Jim Crockett owned NWA at that point, and he would fly his guys in on his huge airplanes to tape their TVs at Turner Studios, at Tech Studios. So I was doing makeup for CNN and makeup for wrestling, and then Ole Anderson's the one that sent Tony Schiavone to ask me about becoming a manager.
Right. That's amazing. That's how. So then that's how you started in WCW as a manager. Did you do any makeup in WCW?
Yeah,
You
I
did?
did. Yeah, anyone that went on air. I did not do Sting's makeup.
Yeah,
because I was
okay.
very proficient at that. But yeah.
How did what did Tony Schiavone come up with for you? If I remember, there used to be. Someone told me that he used to come up with things all the time, and sometimes it was for you. Did he ever come up with, like, what was the best idea that you ever had with Tony Schiavone?
No, like honestly, Tony never. That was his one and only time, really. That and I don't even know the reason. I should really ask this question before, either I or these people pass, and then I'll never get the answer. But he just came to me and he told me the kind of the premise for this character. She didn't have a name at the time.
Yeah.
We were having lunch at the Omni there in Atlanta, CNN Center now. And I came up with the name Alexander York because I thought it sounded snotty and bitchy. And,
Yeah.
we did the whole thing where I was all buttoned up and long skirts because eventually, all that was going to change as the character evolved. But, yeah, so that's the only thing I came up with for that character was her name. Everything else was somebody else.
Where did you go after that? Because at the time, right after that character, and you did that, and I saw that when I was younger, right around the time, right before you debuted in the WWE and towards the end of WCW. How was that? What was the transition like, and how did you get called up into the WWE? How did this take place?
Well, I basically had an argument with Dusty, and that's why, like, one night I got really upset with him, and I quit. I walked out, and that was the end of Alexander York.
It's all Goldust's fault. So it was Dusty Rhodes' fault.
Yes, God rest his soul.
Oh, yeah,
Pop.
okay.
I still cannot believe he's gone. It's so, like,
Yeah.
he's not supposed to be gone. It's unreal to me still. But anyway, so I still worked for CNN a little while longer.
Yeah.
And then I got pregnant with Dakota, and I was like having the best time being a mom. And I had this epiphany whilst laying in the tanning bed in our basement where we had our gym and our tanning bed. And I called Dustin and told him my idea, and he said, call Vince. And I said, no, you call Vince. You work for the guy. I don't. And at that point, my only interaction with Vince was he had sent this beautiful Tiffany silver baby rattle with the WWF logo on it
Oh,
to
wow.
Dakota when she was born. And so, the only dealings I'd had with them was to say thank you for that lovely, nice gift. And so, yeah, I was like, no, Dust, you talk to Vince. And he's like, no, if you want to do this, you talk to him. So Pat Patterson called me back, and I told him my idea. And the idea actually came to me when my sister collected Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
And there was a Barbie doll that Bob Mackie, the famous designer who designed a lot of Cher's really wild costumes and dresses, and he had designed this Barbie named Sun Goddess. And so I saw this Barbie when I was at my sister's house, and I was like, wow. And I started thinking, what is it that WWF at the time
Yeah.
is lacking? What are they missing? What's not there? And there was Sunny, and before that, Sherry, and Sherry Martell's character,
Yeah.
very kind of a gruff female, and Sunny's was a very bippity boppity boo kind of cheerleadery kind of thing. And
Right.
so I was thinking about Dustin, and everything they were having him do was based on old Hollywood. And, he's this old actor, and he kept, he's doing all the quotes, the movie quotes and
Yeah.
stuff. And so I just started thinking old Hollywood, old Hollywood glamour,
Yeah.
kind of an androgynous thing. So that's how I came up with the name Marlena, because of Marlena Dietrich.
Yeah.
If you know who she is, Google her. She was wearing pantsuits back when women didn't wear pants,
Right.
suits in Hollywood. And so, yeah, and then, I knew how I wanted her. Like, I created everything in my mind of how she would be. And I was fortunate enough to have them. Actually, I digress. So
Yeah.
Pat calls me. I give him my idea. He gives me the obligatory thank you, but no thank you, Terri. We appreciate it, but we're not interested at this time. So I thought nothing of it. I love being a mom. That's my best job ever. So I just went back to being a mom, and I didn't think anything more of it. And I was at my grandparents' with Dakota, and Dust called me and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm at Grand's house. What are you doing? He said, pack your bags. They want to do your idea. So it started then and there, and that was in December.
Who ended up approving it, though? Was it because I feel like Vince McMahon would have loved this?
Vince McMahon
It was of
finally
course.
did. Yeah.
Because once he heard, I feel like once he heard that idea, he was all in.
Yeah, because here's the deal. When Pat Patterson told me thanks but no thanks,
Yeah.
Vince had never, like, Pat Patterson didn't
Relay it to him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it kind of makes, even though I had to sign away all rights to her
Yeah.
to sign the deal with Vince,
Yeah.
I basically had to say that they created everything. I was very
Wow.
honored that, like, they did everything I wanted. I got to have her be
Yeah.
exactly as I wanted her to be. The only thing that I said to him was, I either want to take a glass of wine
Yeah.
to bring, or a cigar, which I love cigars. And so we did the cigar thing, which, if you know your history, he wouldn't let me light for like the first month. And I would go to the ring with this unlit cigar. And it was Pat Patterson, ironically enough, that begged him. He's like,
Yeah.
dude, it looks
Yeah.
stupid. She needs to have, if she's got the cigar, she should be able to smoke it. So
Yeah.
he talked him into letting me smoke.
That's awesome. You know something? There's a lot of things. I've heard a lot of interviews. I go back and usually I hear everything. I never knew that myself. And that's a huge credit to you, because for years I'm thinking, no doubt about it, Vince McMahon created that character. So
No.
you did that. And so absolutely, Vince must have just loved it. I can only imagine.
Well, it's very interesting, Joe, because
Yeah.
He ended up on the cover of Cigar Aficionado.
Yeah.
But backstage, I remember him saying to me, when we finally relented and said I could light my cigar, he said to me, "All right, but don't light that GD thing until right before you go out. I don't want to smell that shit." I was like, "Okay."
Put that damn thing out. I don't want to smell it.
Exactly.
I do a Vince every once in a while. I don't do a very good one. Terry, you're gonna go out there. You're gonna smoke that cigar. I try to do it. It doesn't work out. Dave Rose in the chat wants to know, what is your favorite cigar?
Oh, well, let me tell you. I love my Padron Anniversario. I love Rocky Patel is a dear friend of mine, and I do love a lot of Rocky Patel stuff. I have a humidor full of his stuff. And there's a new product that I am digging right now. A guy that worked with Rocky for many years has
Yeah.
gone off on his own, and he has started his own company, Vivalo Cigars, Vivalo, Vivalo Cigars. And he just sent me a goodie bag full, and
Wow.
I'm really enjoying those. So I'll let you know more in the near future about those. But yeah, do yourself a favor and light one of those up.
I'm going to light one of those up on the show. I promise that. We'll figure that out. I'll find those things. I'll light it up here on the show.
Cool.
I am going to get to your questions, guys, in a few minutes in the chat. So if you want to start rattling some of those off, we'll try to get to that. I do want to touch on something that's current, so to speak, because you mentioned her, Sunny.
I mentioned her.
Yeah, well, we talked about the Divas back in the day.
Okay.
So she's done a video here on for Vivid.
Okay.
You may be aware of that, right?
I'd heard rumblings of such.
And they paid her a good amount of money. She's done a Vivid video. There's a trailer for it, which is a little.
I haven't seen that.
We've
Is
had
a good trailer.
We've actually been chuckling about it because it's a very intense beginning.
Funny? Is it a comedy or?
It's not a comedy. But it's more like it's like wrestling. It's like an over the top wrestling promo trailer. Okay. Like we're ready. We've been waiting in anticipation for this all day. It's very very bizarre. So we've been playing it all day on here. And I was wondering if I could try to play it for you, if you could tell me what you think of it.
I would love to see it.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get it up here without putting on some other weird thing that.
It's funny. I'm gonna try to get it up here. Okay.
Here we go. All right, here it comes. Here I found it. Here we go. Everybody
everything digresses into a sexual joke, doesn't it?
It does it. That's what I'm worried about, though. I'm always worried about that.
Here, yeah, that's funny.
Well, here you go. Here's the beginning of it. It's kind of bizarre. I'll play the beginning. You tell me. I just want to hear what you think about this.
Here she is, the lady of the evening. What we've all been waiting for. Rubbing our cocks in anticipation.
So that's the beginning.
It at all or no?
Can you see it? No, I can't play it. It's too much. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, they went into some graphic stuff for it at the beginning. So that's what it's very intense. I guess it would be the words. Now
it sounds like literally like a match is about to ensue.
Yeah. it is like that. But is this something that has been approached to you at any time in the past, or I'm sure it has, but. Is that something you would do ever?
Let me just say this. Nobody has to live in anyone else's skin 24/7.
Right.
I don't know what she's going through, what she needs in her life, what she enjoys, what she hates. I don't know. God bless her for whatever she chooses to do. That's not something I would ever entertain, ever. Just it's not. It's
right.
I don't have anything negative to say about her or anyone else, but yeah, I think they would know better than to ever even call me about something like that.
Right, exactly. Now, speaking of things you are doing conventions and things like that where you're still meeting the fans and still doing the signings and all that stuff? Have you been to Boston and I've missed you at all? I don't know if that's true.
I was in Boston last year, Mr. Oh. Yes, I was.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe I missed it.
For the, I think it was like in April maybe of last year. So it's, we're getting close to a year ago that I was there. But yeah, I was there.
I should have been there. I was in FanFest in Rhode Island last year. Have you ever done FanFest?
I don't know. Honestly, this is going to sound terrible to tell you this.
Yeah.
But literally all the names end up running together.
It doesn't. You're right. I expect that.
WrestleCon, Comic Con, this con, that con.
Let's all get that same backdrop and those same people running around.
And I hope I didn't just disparage anyone's, show. I mean, like Ben Weeble, I give her major props. She just did something last year that was just about women alone.
Right.
Her, oh my gosh, now
I think I know what you're talking
shame on me for drawing a blank on the name, Masters of Ring Entertainment.
Okay.
She did something and brought all of us in, and it was done with great class, and I loved it. And so like that one I remember, but yeah, they do kind of run together.
Yeah. No, I could see how they would. Even for me, they're running together, and I've only been to 6 of them, so
yeah.
I can imagine doing hundreds of them and things like that. Now,
I did a lot in England last year, which I loved.
Oh, that's cool.
Loved. Yeah.
Do they seem different there though? Because I would assume that's a little bit different over there.
They meaning the shows or the people or what?
Yeah, the people and the way the show's put together.
I love England. It's always so great. I mean, literally, someone can offend you, but it doesn't sound like they're offending you. It's always so polite, and They have a wicked sense of humor, which I love. And yeah, I love my UK fans. I love being over there. Yeah, I love it.
That's
I'm
cool.
losing my voice, dude.
I know we're doing a lot of. Well, this is. I just talk all day, so I'm sorry that we're losing. You can't lose the voice. We still got all these questions.
I'm gonna suck on this lemon I've got on my drink.
What are you drinking there?
I'm drinking a little strawberry lemonade Crystal Light concoction.
Okay. I'm a nosy person. I will ask these questions. I'm drinking water, and that's all I'm drinking. Now, you did the makeup. You end up in WWE. Vince loves the deal. You end up doing it. Debuting, was it at the, I think it was at, I should have done my notes, but I think it was the Royal Rumble when you debuted. We just had the Rumble.
I just had my 20-year anniversary.
Unbelievable. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir.
This is amazing. The first thing that, one of the big things I remember, first of all, is the debut of you. I was probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something years old, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not much different now, but I was, I was enjoying it. And the one thing I'll never forget is China just throwing you around like a doll, like a rag doll. That was.
You'll never forget it. My body didn't forget it for a long time.
It's an iconic video. It's an iconic moment that people remember. So did that? People always ask you about it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that was one of those things where, she was new to the company and coming in, and I remember saying to her, I like it when I take bumps or do something and I feel it. I don't like it to be, I want it to be a little bit snug. I want it to, I want to feel it.
Yeah.
And so, she held nothing back. And the next day when I could not move, like when I could not turn my head or do anything, I was like, holy shit. I all of a sudden had such empathy for Dustin, who does that all the time. But, one thing I did learn that because when I signed my deal with Vince, I refused to do house shows, because I had a baby. And because, even though she flew with me and traveled with me, I just needed to be home and be mommy.
Yeah.
And so, that was my deal. I would only do TVs and pay-per-views. And, so I remember, and in the beginning, I was not doing a lot of physical stuff anyway. And so you learn that when you're on the road and you're doing this kind of stuff daily, it's kind of like going to the gym and doing a workout when you haven't done one in years.
Yeah.
You certainly feel it the next day. Whereas when you train on a regular basis, that soreness doesn't get you the same. Exactly. And so it's kind of like that with me, where I wasn't always doing it. So it really affected me. And that was a painful day after.
Well, no one was doing that. Like nobody was taking that type of twist and turn with their bodies and necks. And so for you to do it out of nowhere, I can only imagine it would hurt the next day, because that's just not the norm. But it was great. It was brilliant. It made China look like just this uncontrollable just beast. It was amazing. I loved it. It put her over big time. And just you guys were so strong back then as far as characters and things like that go, that it's just something that you don't really see now. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about
what you just said.
Yeah.
I have to say this to you. That is one thing I think people are missing right now.
Yeah.
When back then, I could tell you everything that Marlena would do in life. If you sat me down, I could tell you what she ate for breakfast, how she would respond to this joke, how she would do that, how she would handle this, what would she choose to eat, what would she like.
Yeah.
Everything, so that, and I tell young guys now that want help, I'm like, and I'll ask them about their characters, and I'll say, tell me about your character, and they'll say, oh well, I'm supposed to be like a gym rat, and I'm really this, and I'm and they'll do this little explanation, and I'll say, but tell me about the character, like, who is this person, like. You got to be able to, if you as a performer don't know who your character is, there's no way for you to convey that to the audience.
Right.
And so, that's one thing that, because I created her, I knew her very well, and I knew how she would react to everything. And, you know, that's one thing I wish people would, you know, really think about now and do a better job of in their downtime when they're sitting at the airport, backstage, you know, sit there and run your character through
Yeah.
10 different scenarios in your mind. How would my character handle this? Not just in the ring, not
Right.
just backstage, but at home, at a red light, in every, you know, and when you start to understand your character like that, then you can convey that character to the others, and then they buy into what you're selling them.
Right. No, I think you're right, and I agree. I think that some people do catch me that way now. Like for even if they are just going with the whole I'm a wrestler and a badass type of thing, a lot of people do that. I think Sasha Banks conveys that when if you've paid any attention to her at all, I think she's conveyed that. But I think there's a lot of other people that don't. But going back to the to that time period that we're in, so many people were either afraid of or upset at or had ill will towards the Clique. What did you feel in that atmosphere when you got in there as far as the Clique goes and Shawn Michaels and all that? Did you notice there was a rift around certain people?
This is going to sound horrible, but it was entertaining to watch, to tell you the truth.
Right.
It was entertaining to watch. I mean, I didn't like it when it messed with Dustin, or when it kind of, you know, overshadowed something that, you know, he needed, or you know, it was kind of a very they had a very omnipotent feeling that they, you know, kind of cast and shared. But like Kevin Nash is one of my dearest friends, and you know, I think he said that I'm the first person he ever met in wrestling, which I don't recall that, but
Wow.
that's what he says. But I mean, we go back that far, and you know, I think that there was this grand friendship, but they really did play off of one another so well
Yeah.
in strategic and power moves, you know, backstage, and they were smart. What can I tell you?
Well,
I mean, it was very smart. I found it entertaining to sit back and just kind of watch.
right. I mean, with the charisma and with how entertaining they were on television, absolutely believe that, and absolutely could imagine what went on and what you could be entertained by, as long as it wasn't affecting you. And then it was probably scary.
Yeah, I say it's frustrating because they could not be, you know, penetrated at all. It was like
Yeah.
this force around them was impenetrable, and they, you know, they had Vince's ear, so nobody else could get Vince's ear, and that was frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to say that that was good, right, or whatever in terms of that part,
Yeah.
but it was an entertaining thing to see backstage. You got the show out there, you guys got to see, but it was actually quite a show. Just the operation itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sounds like it was a really entertaining time. I hear from some people that say it was amazing, they loved it. Other people were criers and whiners, and I hear other people say they ruined people's careers for no reason, so it was more of a scarier story.
Yeah.
As a fan, these are all guys I love. I don't know them at all personally, but it sounded like it was a great time either way, and to experience that, you'll never see that time again. You were there, you were part of it doing it. So that is just one of the most entertaining aspects about that time. And hey, it worked out for everybody, it seems like, in the end. But tell me about the boss man, Ray Taylor, because I also I really liked him as a kid. And then as I got a little bit older, I got to meet him somewhere one night, and he was just so good in person. He was really a nice guy.
The best. Well, first of all, he was just my best friend. You know, in this crazy industry, there's an assumption that is made about when guys and girls either ride together or hang out with each other, you know, more than usual.
Yeah.
And I'm sure certain people assumed or thought that Ray and I had something. I think finally they figured out, okay, this is something even bigger than some kind of sexual relationship. There was
Yeah.
zero. The reason that I stayed close with Ray is because he never, ever, ever made me feel like he was coming on to me.
Yeah.
In fact, it was just the opposite. I felt very protected by him. He was I've said this so many times before, he was my brother, my father, my girlfriend, my therapist, like literally we were traveling partners, and he and I, we were the best of buds. I give his wife major, major credit for being able to see that,
Yeah.
because it would be real easy for a wife to go, oh, hell no, you're not
Yeah.
riding with her.
Right.
And hell no, and Angie saw, and I'm so thankful she did, what we had in our friendship, and how much I relied on Ray and how much he relied on me. And she would say to me, "Girl, all I know is I worry about him when you are not on the road." Like, so for the house show dates, there's 2 or 3 dates before I would fly in, and he would not be riding with me. He'd be riding with some of the boys, and she would say, I'm worried, but I know that the minute you get to TV's and he's in the car with you, I know he's safe. I know everything's good. So that was a major compliment. Ray and I had our little thing where, everybody picks and chooses. Some people like to get to the town that night so that
Right.
when they wake up the next morning, they're already in the town. They go to the gym, all that stuff. Ray and I were the opposite. We like to stay in that town that night and travel the following day. Always, always. So, our little routine was we would get to the hotel. Ray would always, like my big brother, schlep all of my damn bags in, which I always packed too much. And, and we would look at the room service menu. He'd say, "Okay, sissy, order me that." He would go to his room, call Angie, talk to Angie and the kids. I would call home, talk to Dakota,
Right.
and then, he would then come back. I would have changed into one of my flannel pajama sets. He would come back, and we would order a movie, laugh, talk, eat, and he'd kiss me on the top of my head and say, "Good night, sissy." And that was just our thing. And he gave me away at my second and ill-fated wedding.
Right.
I'll never forget his words to me. He said, and after the fact, he told me, like, "I really was scared for you to marry this guy." I'm like, "Dude, why didn't you tell me before that? Why didn't you
Yeah.
say something to me?" But he said, "I did. I asked you right before we walked down the aisle, are you sure you want to do this?" Can't wait until the last second like that. Ask me. But yeah, like he was just, and to this day, in fact, hold on a second. I'm going to bring you something and show you. Hold on.
All right. I like it. Guys, and we're going to get to more of your questions in the chat, but this is interesting. We're going to get show and tell. I love show and tell. The big boss man. You guys, we talked about him recently on the show, so it's good to get this.
Okay. So in my Louis that I travel with at all times,
Oh, my goodness.
he's always with me.
Oh, that is really nice. That is so cool.
He always travels with me. So, like, I sit him on, like the nightstand by the bed, or if I'm in the bathroom getting ready. And
Yeah.
so,
Oh,
he's
that's
always with me.
that's so nice. And I had that same one, I think. I really did. Yeah, no, he really was. He did some, he did some great stuff when I was a kid. I never thought I would see in my teenage years watching The Boss Man around that, that time he was working with Al Snow and doing the whole Pepper and the Big Show's dad and all that stuff.
Right.
I never thought I would see the Big Boss Man involved in those storylines, let alone those storylines happen. So what did you think of those? Because I thought it was great, but he seemed when I was he just seemed like this teddy bear nice guy, you know, and then now he was this creepy person who was cooking Elsno's dog and
you know, I mean, there were some things that he didn't like, but
yeah.
Ray was one of those people that, like, I beg you to find somebody that didn't like him.
Right.
Like, he just was loved, and just, you know, I don't ever recall him really complaining about any storylines. I thought those were hilarious.
Yeah.
He did some hilarious stuff, and he and hold on. Okay, it's my child. I just have to make sure she's
okay.
good.
As long as it's good news. The last I've had some bad luck on this show. I actually had set up a meeting with Ric Flair at a wrestling event that he came to here that I do the commentary for, and it was the day that Roddy Piper passed.
Oh.
And it was like he sat there and signed hundreds of autographs. Most of the fans didn't know yet, and poor guy was getting texted, you know, and he's just sitting there, you know, trying to deal with this, and people are like, I couldn't believe it. He had to leave a few times and come back, but they, you know, here, sign this, Rick, remember this, remember that, and he's thinking about that.
Right.
And then recently I was supposed to have Buddy Lindell on the show, and I emailed him. I think some of my fans heard this, but I emailed him. We had talked. He told me some things. He gave me some pointers about some things, and literally the next day, the accident happened, and I was like, I can't even believe this.
Let me. Buddy called me when I was over in England. I think it was the first trip that I did over there this last year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for the text that he sent me. And I'm waiting for it to search for it, but it will pull up. But his heart was so broken over his daughter passing.
Yeah.
And you know, he was a very big believer in God. I don't go to church. Went to church all my life, but I am such a big believer in the big man upstairs. And you know, Buddy knew that if I said I would pray for his daughter, I did. I mean, I start every single day on my knees, and that's the way I begin my days. And so I, you know, would say, hold on, I just found it.
Yeah, no problem. I think
And this just breaks my heart. I'm just trying to make sure before I read this to you that it's okay.
Oh, I see, Trevor. I see everybody who's commenting. We'll get your chats. We'll get to your chat in a second. We'll get to the caller questions in a second, or the viewer questions in a second. This is
this was on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you the date. This was June 20th. What day did he pass? Like just a few days after that,
right? After that, yeah. I talked to him the day before, so.
And he says in one of this, Terry, I'm having such a hard time over losing my baby. I'm dying inside every day.
Oh.
I'm not sure why I'm texting you other than you're one of the only women I never hit on. I truly always felt you were my friend, and we had so much in common. We both loved our business, and although people constantly tried to cut our throats, we knew we were the best at what we did. I have so much respect for you, and you carried yourself daily like a lady and a champion. I'm your biggest fan and will always hold you in my heart. Sorry for rambling. And then the last thing he said to me was, he said, I'm rich, Terry. Seriously, whatever you set it for me. He was asking me to help him get on some shows.
Yeah.
And I was asking him what price, he charged. And he said, I'm rich. Terry, seriously, whatever you set it for me, I just want to be on one of your shows. I thought one day I got plenty of money. I should split and marry Terry, my best buddy, LOL. You wouldn't have to be in love with me, just best friends being happy. And the last words he said to me, I've just always loved you and glad you're my best buddy.
Oh, wow.
And I said, we'll talk when I get back. And, it's so tragic, so tragic.
It really, it is. That one really, it got to me, and only because I didn't know Buddy Lindell too well, other than he commented on a commentary that I did. And he gave me some pointers and said, he's like, these are really good. And he's like, if I had and we started talking about things and back in the day and Gordon Soley and a couple other things and back and forth. He said, I'll be on your show. And, so we only went back and forth, for a week or so. And on June 21st, I think was the last email I got from him. And I was just so excited to have him on. And just the things that he said to me.
It never even happened. You never were able to get him on the show.
I didn't get him on. All this stuff and him seeing a video that I did and then something else and seeing my calling a match for Top Rope Promotions locally here. And then the next day that happened, I was at work and I was at my other work. I do this as my part-time, but I was at my other work and I'm sitting there reading the wrestling news to figure out what I was going to do for the show that night. And then I saw that and I just blinked and I just looked at the screen again and I looked around and I was like, I was telling people at work because I was freaking out because my dad liked him too. I mean, I
decided you were going to have him on. Right?
Yeah, all that stuff. And I'm telling people at work, they have, some of them, I think one guy knew who he was, and, everybody else is like, what the hell are you talking about? But I had to tell someone because I'm like, I just emailed him last night. We just talked last night.
Right.
So anyway, but it's just such a loss. And Buddy was, I didn't, what I knew of him from the emails was unbelievable that he took the time to talk to me like that. So.
And that was genuine. He really cared. Another person that is a very dear friend of mine, Scott Putsky.
Yeah.
Scott loved Buddy so much, and it was very sad, just very sad.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to happy because we're probably making everyone just upset right now. But it's
snack on hot tamales while we talk.
I'm gonna drink some water, and everybody is in here. Okay, we got MILF. I understand that. I'm not gonna read that other comment. This other one. It's always a tough decision too. You talk about the relationships of guys and girls and stuff like that. And that's always a tough one. You're like, I don't want to ruin how much I like this person, but I do want to hit on them. So sometimes that comes up. But those are special relationships. It sounds like you had. JD from New York. I have to be honest. Terri Runnels was one of the most beautiful valets in the company ever, and she was with Goldust as well. Yeah, absolutely. JD from New York. Any other questions you guys have? Spew them off into the comments section. I'm going to try to catch them and hopefully be able to answer them. I don't know if we can read almost any of these, but we'll get to some.
All that bad? My goodness.
Oh yeah, the people that comment can be pretty bad. We're a little crazy here.
My guys.
Twitter. Mike MJ says on Twitter. Let me see. My question is, as a female entrepreneur / TNA president Dixie Carter, is she great for the wrestling industry? So Sports Kingdom wants to know how you feel about Dixie Carter and what she's done with TNA.
I don't know, and I don't follow that product enough. I think that I just personally watching some of the stuff that she's done, I don't think, it was not, I didn't buy into it.
Right.
When she was making herself part of the storyline.
Yeah.
And, when you sit there and you watch someone act versus be, it's uncomfortable. So
yeah,
I think she's a lovely, beautiful lady.
Yeah.
And probably has some grand ideas, but I didn't like the way she put herself on TV and in the storyline. The way she was not able to convey the message in a proper fashion for me as a fan.
I had Cronin on the show a while back, and he said he didn't really agree. Well, he didn't disagree with me, but he sort of went into some other question when I asked him this. But when I first saw her on TV, my impression was that it was like she wanted to be part of the show just because, and it didn't seem the right deal. It didn't seem right to me, and
it was uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, it's weird, and that shows can go TV 14, and some of their stuff is goofier than anything else. It reminds me of middle school boy stuff, like, but not the stuff the Attitude Era was doing, but just bizarre middle school boy stuff. So I don't know why they don't go into more stuff. Now, this question is probably asked you a million times over, but apparently about 38 of my fans don't know it, so let's ask this question. This is the generic one. Who was your favorite wrestler to work with in the ring?
I loved working with Dustin, but another person that really, really took care of me in the ring, in all facets, was Perry Saturn.
Yeah.
Trusted him. He's another one that, it's funny, Perry, one day he said to me, "Hey, Tara, I need to talk to you up in the stands." And so, you know, in the building before everyone gets there, you see people sprinkled around, you know, either they're up listening to music or they're, you know, talking to back home, or, you know, we all kind of get sprinkled around into the arena, or some people are working out in the ring. And so I said, okay. And so we go up in the stands, and he basically said, and we're at this point we're working together.
Yeah.
And he basically said, "Yeah, I want to date you." And I was like, "Dude, like, no, you're my friend, and that's it." And for 2 solid weeks, I'll be damned, Perry would not even speak to me. Like, literally, he spoke to me just enough to be able to make the match work, and that was it.
Yeah.
And finally, I was just like, you know, this is ridiculous. And once he got over it, everything went back to normal. And he said to me, he said, "I never believed that a man could have a female friend." He said, "In my mind, every female was, you took her to bed, and that's the only, you know, that's just what."
Wow.
In my experience, that's what I did. He's the first person that proved to me that I could have a female friend. So I viewed that as a great compliment, but I loved working with him.
Wow. So you said, yeah, this happened to a lot of people, but that was interesting what he said, because he had a whole different angle. It's almost like you sort of tamed him in a way. You friend zoned him too. It sounds
right.
Like you're friend zoning everybody. It's this is crazy. I don't know. What happened with other guys? Did you ever have you know, when you obviously you were dating people, or you were with, you know, Dustin or somebody like that at the time? Most of these times, but as far as
after Dustin and I divorced, I tried really hard. Like, I didn't date anyone in the business.
Wow.
You know, while everybody else was going out and partying, I went back to my hotel room, you know, four blank walls, and I just didn't. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't date in the business after Dustin, and then after I left the business, you know, then it became, you know, if somebody came to me and wanted to go out, it became an easier scenario for me after the fact, not while I was working. It's kind of like you don't want to sleep around where you're
working.
I just didn't like that.
It probably caused a lot of problems. I mean, speaking of problems, I mean, did you ever have any kind of issues with some of the women that were working there, or was there any difficult situations? I'm sure there were, but that came up, or you really just tried to avoid all of that?
I think honestly, I was like Mother Goose in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know, I was the one that had been there longest. I was the oldest. And so I kind of was like mom.
Somebody asked, Jamie Messner says, from the Jamie Sideline podcast, how you doing, Jamie? Hope you're doing good tonight, man. He says, how do you feel, we sort of talked about it a little bit, but how do you feel about the current state of wrestling? Do you feel the creative team is lackluster versus when you were there? Obviously, with the changes of the company going public and things like that, you know, differences are there, obviously, but what do you feel about the way it's written now?
I feel like I don't see the product enough to really give you a great and grand answer.
Yeah.
I can say this, that because of the company going public,
Yep.
and you know, the thing that we did so beautifully was the double entendre. And Vince Russo, I give him major credit for this, because he did all of Dustin's writing.
Right.
And he did such a great job of throwing in that double entendre where the adults in the room got it, but a kid would never get it.
Yeah.
And so which could still be done today if they would be smart about it.
Yeah.
You know, back then it was, you know, Dustin saying things like, to other wrestlers, I'll come in your back door. Well, little Joe Cronin, at 8 or 9, doesn't realize what the inference was, with that character. But I think that there are ways to be really smart.
Joe Cronin knew. Joe Cronin knew. Trust me. Joe Cronin knew.
But it wasn't in an offensive way, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, you're right though. It's true. It can be it's family friendly with getting that same point across.
Exactly. So I don't watch it enough to really make a real educated assessment.
Right. Well, Vince Russo's been great. He's come on the show a couple of times, and I've enjoyed Vince. Do you keep up with Vince at all and what he's doing? Yeah,
I did his show. In fact, we talked so long it was ridiculous. And we're still only like halfway finished with I need to go back and finish
part 3. Yeah. VinceRussoBrand.com, everyone, by the way. Go check it out.
There were times where I got mad with him because I felt like he got a little full of himself, and he would kind of he would push me to do some things that were a little more sexual and more just blatant in your face and kind of.
But can you blame him if he was here? Can you blame him, Terry?
Well,
that's what he'd say.
I hated when he had me do the whole help me. What's the word when you lose a child?
Oh, the miscarriage thing. Yeah, that was that was bizarre with Val Venus.
I begged him to change that, and I lost that fight, as you can tell. But most of his stuff was genius. But yeah, he got a little full of himself, but he knows that, so we're all good.
Yeah, he went. I mean, everyone has this debate. There's a huge debate about him because he did this stuff that seems genius in the WWE, and it almost seemed like him and Vince McMahon had some kind of in sync thing that you couldn't. The filter was perfect with them, synchronization with them. But when he went to WCW, it was like all his ideas just went out of crazy. Like they all just blew. Like they went to the highest points. It got ridiculous. Like you said, maybe he got full of himself, or he just thought there was no Vince McMahon filter. But
think about when all of the things that you're talking about was when he put himself into that mix.
Right.
I think what you have is an infusion of ego that, goes unchecked and goes awry.
Yeah, it was almost like he was like, I'm going to be Vince McMahon on WCW now.
Right. It was a great power trip he was on.
Yeah.
And, it's, let's face it, it's good for ego.
Yeah.
I think that he was probably not given, if he were to tell the truth, and maybe he's even said this before, I don't know, but he was not given the attaboy and credit from Vince McMahon that he deserved for all that he did.
Yeah. So he said, watch this, Dad. Type
right?
of thing, watch what I'm going to do over here.
But yeah, I still think, he's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable that he's stopped by my show randomly and been on. So I can't say enough about Vince Russo. I do have a question from Adrian Lopez on Twitter, and you can tweet me at Joe Cronin Show on Twitter with your questions or DM me there. He says he wants to know what you think, if you've seen it, of Total Divas. Have you watched Total Divas?
Yeah, I think it's any publicity for the product, I think, is great. I was trying to get Vince to do that a long time ago. I'm glad they finally did something like that, because here's my thing. Whether or not, of course, everyone at this point knows that, we're not actually enemies when we go and do a storyline together.
Yeah.
All that cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to worry about that. But when you can become invested in a person, then you want to see what they're doing in this other product. So I think it's a grand idea to bring in females and people that normally wouldn't watch wrestling. You
Yeah.
know, they start watching Total Divas and then they go, wait a second, maybe this wrestling stuff's not so bad. I think it's a great, grand idea. So
Yeah,
that's
no, there's girls at my work even that are just they're they dress very nice. You know, they're very particular. They watch more upscale type of television, and they're into Total Divas, and now they're into the wrestling. So exactly what you said has happened.
right.
They love the Bellas. It started there, and then it moved on, and who knows how it trickles downward.
I mean, it's smart. Question, if you
yes.
don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what is your other job that you do?
I actually am a consumer services specialist, so I speak on the phone with people as far as with customer service goes, and I handle kind of those issues, all kinds of stuff. It's not, luckily, it's not a cubicle that's like, hey, you know, and it's more to it. So it's that's entertaining because I like the chaos of different things and investigating. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I started doing this one night and just talking about wrestling.
And rest is history.
The rest is history. That's it. And now I do commentary for wrestling, and that's about it. So
Awesome.
it's been
So what is your thought on wrestling back in my Attitude Era versus now?
it's one of those things we talk about it, and I feel like a lot of younger kids are just like they feel like some of them are sick of it now. Like they're sick of hearing about how good it was back then. Some of them look at it with this curiosity that like I got to go back and watch that. And a lot of them do. Wrestling's a weird thing where you can go back and quickly learn a lot of history, at least about the last 5 to 10 years, even if you weren't there for it. Like I did at WrestleMania 5, I went back and watched all those ones. And yeah, right as I was getting into that moment of maybe I'm going to stop watching wrestling now, but I was a big Shawn Michaels fan, so I kept watching. And Goldust, those are the things that I like. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. When Stone Cold came on, that was interesting. And everything you guys did, I loved that. I still to this day can turn on anything from the Raws back then. Anything from the Raws back then. And I'm amazed now because I forget a lot of it.
Right.
And it's night and day. You can't even tell the difference. The one thing that back then I would criticize as opposed to now was there was a lot of chaos then where like matches, wrestling wasn't as traditional. The wrestling wasn't as important. The storylines were more important.
Right.
Now I think there's a clamoring for the wrestling to be better. Even though the storylines are just so cheesy now that it's not even acceptable.
Right.
But when you watch NXT, the wrestling is wrestling we actually didn't even mostly get in the Attitude Era. But,
Gotcha.
you know, that stuff, I loved watching. I loved that there was unpredictability. I believed you could make a character like you had. Marlena, Kane, Undertaker, although Undertaker transitions years, but all those people, all those characters, you invested in, you suspended belief.
Yep.
For what was going on easily because you made it believable. So that's something that I feel like we don't get now, and it's really cringeworthy sometimes. So that's what I would say about it. We can't stop talking about it.
Right.
So,
And I love the whole concept of the WWE Network. I think it's genius. I think it's wonderful. I think it's so smart. Like what wrestling fan wouldn't want to spend $9 a month to have access to any and everything and the pay-per-views? And I mean, I just think if you call yourself a wrestling fan, you're not if you don't get that. I just think that's...
I can't believe people actually write still, like in the chat sometimes, like I'm canceling and all these other things. I'm like, what are you talking about? A year and a half ago, when the pay-per-views were $60, I was saying, you know, and by the way, I was watching them for free, streaming them, except for WrestleMania and SummerSlam. I would pay for those, but I would stream for free the other ones because I just couldn't do it. And I would say, please, WWE, I wish they would come out with something for $14.99 or something like that so I could give them money they deserve. I don't want to steal this. I want to give them something and give me access to these pay-per-views in standard definition or something. Maybe they could do that. Mm-hmm. And then certainly now the network's available. Every pay-per-view, everything that's pretty much ever been done, and they're adding to it all the time. $9.99, that's unbelievable. And we sound like we've been paid to say this, but it's really unbelievable.
I mean, it's the smartest. I mean, I'm blown away. Like I said, if somebody says they're a wrestling fan and they don't get that, I can't believe. I don't believe you are a wrestling fan if you don't, because again, think about like what we're doing right now, like
Yeah.
someone going, oh wow, I never saw her do her thing. Well, instead of getting some choppy crappy thing on YouTube, to be able to go and just dial it up, whatever
Yeah.
you want to see, pull it up, and it's so great.
What would you point them to? What would be the first thing right now if somebody was like, I gotta check her out? What would you have them look up on the network?
Probably,
I mean, that's a tough one, but maybe. But
yeah, it is. WrestleMania 13 would have been great, but leading up to WrestleMania, and I don't even remember what pay-per-view it was when
Yeah.
when China first. Maybe it was a Raw when she. It was a Raw when she came out of the crowd and grabbed me, right?
I think it was a Raw. Yep, it was a Raw.
That's good watching. Going back with Alexandra York.
April 21st, 1997.
Is that what it was?
That's when you look it up. Yeah, April 21st, 1997 was when she came out of the crowd.
Find out when I added Ricky Morton to the York Foundation and turned him into Richard Morton. When was that?
That was
89 or 90?
that was not. I thought it was 91, but yeah, maybe 90. That makes sense. I don't know. I think 1990 though.
Yeah, there were some fun things. I look back now at that character. First of all, the hair and the shoulder pads from that era is just nuts. But the other thing is, I was so green. Oh my gosh, I was so green.
Oh God, I got the photo. Here we go.
Oh, it's just hilarious to me to watch it. Dakota will put that on and just like double over and cry laughing.
I just remember like it was a typewriter or something you had.
It was the first laptop
Yeah, it was just so big, right?
ever made. Hilarious.
That's awesome. And you had these glasses. Even that just my
Oh, and
God.
the way I spoke, the way I talked,
Yeah.
and like it was the snotty thing, but I was not smart enough to ditch the Southern drawl, so
Yeah.
I had this drawl that was, it was just hilarious. It's so funny.
That's so funny. You'll probably see delayed pop up on if you're on the YouTube page in a minute, but it was yeah, that's wild going back to that. I was like 6 or 7 or something then. But yeah, I remember that stuff. Though that was when I had to get tapes because I had a crazy neighbor who watched wrestling and he traded tapes with people. So
Those
some
lovely clunky VHSs, right?
exactly, yeah. It was like a drug deal. Like we'd have to go down the street and he'd be like, "This is what I got today," and I didn't know the federations and the territories really. I just knew that this is wrestling too. I thought it was all the same thing when I was 8, 7.
That's so funny.
I was like, it's the only difference is I'd watch some of those, and obviously the camera work and things weren't produced like the WWF at the time. So I would sometimes say, why is it so dark? Or I thought they were house shows or something.
Why are there like 300 seats with nobody in it right there? And
Yeah, because I remember my friends because they didn't care at all, and like they would like the Macho Man, Hulk Hogan stuff, and all the Ultimate Warrior things like that. But I would put on like whatever it is or even Starcade or something, and they'd be like, "This is boring," I'd be like, "No, this is great."
well, you know what's crazy about that time?
Yeah,
During that time, Vince McMahon had less money at his disposal to produce his shows than we did at WCW with Ted Turner's unlimited wallet. And yet we being WCW, still put on a much lower quality production.
yeah,
And, I remember when I went to WWF, when I signed my deal and went up there thinking, now I get to work with a real professional
right,
company. But you think about it, he didn't have that money back then.
yeah,
And yet he was kicking ass compared to WCW,
right.
production value wise.
And it's funny that the WCW thing and the whole Monday Night Wars and stuff that really it launched them to another level. That we after the '80s and then where the decline in the mid '90s and things like that, You were around for that. You asked me what it was like to watch. What was it like to be around for that time where everything seemed good and then it was really getting scary for a while and then it kind of took off again? What was that?
Scary.
Well, like, I mean, they were worried. I mean, people were worried that, you know, WWF was going to lose to WCW. People were jumping.
In wars, in the actual war.
Yeah, during the war, like when people were jumping over there.
Oh my gosh, that was the best thing for business ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like the minute Vince bought the whole library of WCW and ECW and all that, it was like the worst. That was the nail in the coffin. It was electric to be backstage and word get out of what they were about to do.
Yeah.
What they've just done.
Right.
Like, you know, because I mean, literally they hung on everything we did and we hung on everything they did. And, you know, every once in a while, more often than not, somebody was leaking information. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's just nuts. It was electric is the best way to describe it.
And you were never in fear, like, we're going to lose or this is not going to go well, you know, like during those times.
Exciting.
What?
It was exciting.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you were game for this. That's crazy. That's great. Well, see, I hear a lot of stories sometimes where guys are like, we're worried that we're going to lose our jobs. But you're just like, well, you know, we're going. This is great. So it's interesting to hear that other perspective. Dave has asked another question. Dave Rose asked another question. I'm sure I'm missing some of yours. Guys, if you want to ask the question, tweet me at Joe Cronin Show on Twitter. Make sure to click the like button.
Don't use the words MILF or cougar.
Yes. Don't use those words?
Yeah, we don't want to answer any of those questions.
Yeah, we don't want MILF or cougar.
I hate the word. I hate the label cougar. I'm not one.
I don't like that either because
it sounds like a
sloppy bar woman.
Desperate chick at the local bar.
A trucker woman or something, or like a sloppy lady. Yeah, exactly. This is Terri Runnels. What are you doing?
Flannel pajamas, man.
I know. Cougar. She's 38 years old. I mean, geez, she's unbelievable.
Can you believe I'm going to be 50 this year?
No, I can't believe it. I can't even. I mean, and you're unbelievably gorgeous still. So this is unbelievable.
We need to have a party for my 50th birthday so that I can have laughter as opposed to tears on that day. Yeah.
No, you should be rejoicing because this is phenomenal. There's guys. Well, I mean, that's the one thing to take away. On one hand, people are saying these words that we don't like, but on the other hand, I've had nothing but emails all day that were more respectful than that. More like, man, she's still pretty. Man, she's still hot. Oh, she's incredible. She could be on Raw now. You know, all that stuff. So that's great. It's party time. And okay, Joe, what did he ask? He said, what was the most outrageous thing that Dustin did when he was not Goldust? Okay, so this is actual, in real life, he's talking about out of character in public.
Okay, so like when they brought Dustin's Tourette's thing into the character several years back.
Yeah.
That is the kind of stuff that he would do out in public and just mortify. I was so embarrassed.
Like at a restaurant? Like,
oh yeah, and you never knew when he was going to do it, and I mean, a laugh a minute, but when you're that person's wife and
like, stop it.
Social etiquette, I would be like, oh my god, like, I would want to apologize for my husband, but then I didn't want to like make him look bad, but at the same time, I was like, oh dear God,
I'll just go with this.
Did he just do that? Oh my god, yeah.
Sir, would you like some dessert tonight? Penis. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. I would love to be around that. Let's see if there's any in the cot in the cot. I don't know. I'm thinking of cots. I'd like to go lay down in the chat. Read my questions. Michael J. Smith, type your questions again and we'll get them. Let's see what else we got. I'm rolling up here. There's so many. 50 years and still has it, says Matt Munn.
Thank you.
Joe, read my question on Twitter. Okay, I'll go take a look at your Twitter question. There's so many questions flying by. It's hard to keep up. Somebody really wants to know your thoughts on The Undertaker losing that streak at WrestleMania 30. Were you paying attention at that time to all that?
Yeah, you know what? My thing is, after all that time, you know, his body needed him to retire years before he did. But I was so disappointed. I wanted him to keep that streak and keep it preserved and polished and untarnished.
Yeah.
I was disappointed.
I thought he would make it to this year because I'm sure he's going to wrestle this year in Dallas, and I thought he would make it here to Dallas, and he would retire undefeated, which would be unbelievably epic. You know, no one would ever beat that.
Right.
I don't think anyone will ever beat what he did anyway.
No, I mean, it's incredible, but yeah, I just wish that, you know, the whole Brock Lesnar thing had not happened.
Mike, I don't know if this is really a question. Mike at Trilix Dubstep says, Terri has paved the way for many of the female wrestlers today, proving that women can have major roles in what's going on. I agree with that, and I also agree with the craziest thing about you is and this isn't crazy, I used the wrong word, but the best thing about you is you were able to play this character, Marlena. You were able to come out and be Terri Runnels. You were able to do all these different skits and situations, and you were also able to get in the ring and take some bumps. You were also in those cat fight things, I think, for when those happened. Tell me what that was like when wrestling seemed to, because when you were done with that, 2004, around when you retired, I was about done with the cat fight thing. I was so mad. I wanted the women to wrestle again.
You think you were done with it?
Right.
I was way done with it.
How did you feel at first, and when did you be like, I'm sick of this, you know?
I begged from the get-go. I begged Vince not to have me do that. Like,
Yeah.
It's never been a secret. I don't mind taking bumps. Like, I don't mind if one of the guys picks me up and tosses me, and, you know, the bigger the bump, the better. I love it.
Yeah.
I never wanted to wrestle the other girls. Like, I didn't feel like that was my talent. That was not my skill set.
Right.
And Vince, you know, I would literally go to him and say, you know, Vince, when people want to do things, they do a better job of them. I don't want to wrestle. I love doing what I'm doing. I'm better at this.
Right.
And he would literally look at me and say, nah, you're going to be great. And I would be sick to my stomach all day knowing that, you know, I was going to be in a freaking thong and flying all over the place and doing something I did not want to do live for 20 million people to see me. I was just mortified.
Yeah.
So I did not like that at all. But, you know, for some reason, he saw fit to have me do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like it. My battery says it's running low. Give me 2 seconds. I got to plug it in so it doesn't die.
Yeah, no problem. I'll sift through questions in the chat, guys. I'm so glad you guys are with us tonight. We killed it the other night. We're up to hundreds of people watching right now. If you guys could click the like button. And then also, we've been invading wrestlers' Twitters. You guys have known this. We've been invading Twitters of the wrestlers and people, and we've been talking to them. What I was hoping for tonight is basically, if you don't know me, make sure you follow me on Twitter, at Joe Cronin Show on Twitter, and you go over to Terri Runnels' Twitter page. It's the Terri Runnels on Twitter. Be nice and go ahead and follow her, and maybe say some nice things as well, and tweet the questions to me on Twitter, and of course in the chat here I'm trying to catch them as well. Matt M, I see your question over there. I'm gonna find yours. He's talking about sports. He's wondering if you watch other sports or other things. What is maybe what you like to watch on television?
Well, I'm a huge football fan. However, I'm either all the way in or I can't invest at all. This year, I did not invest at all time-wise. I'm clueless, but my team is the Green Bay Packers. So there you have it. When I'm in it, I'm in it. This year was a not in year.
Yeah.
I love UFC. Watched UFC 1, you know, back when freaking Tank Abbott was telling somebody he would, you know, tickle their brain and with, just horrible.
How about that time? That was such a great time.
Oh, I was pregnant with Dakota, and I remember Dustin saying to me, I would get so animated and so like freaked out, so mad. And Dustin would say to me, like, and of the two of us, I was pretty much the parent like I would have to be the one always telling Dustin to calm down.
Right.
Dustin would say to me as if I was his child, if you do not calm down, I'm going to turn that pay-per-view off.
Wow.
Do you understand me? I was like, okay, I'll calm down.
That's what I'm like. I get yelled at all the time.
I mean, a huge belly. You know, with child. I'm sure he thought I was going to go into labor if I was just, you know, freaking out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
I love that. It's become at this point though so large
yeah.
that there's so many people, and so I'm not really familiar with everybody.
Yeah.
Again, I'm the kind of person I'm either in, or I either do something all the way, or I don't
Right.
bother. So
I'm the
yeah.
same way with UFC. I always bounce in and bounce out of it. I get hyped for a while, and then I bounce out of it. That's the same thing that happens to me.
yeah,
Cam Newton. People love Cam Newton. Yeah, somebody else loves Aaron Rodgers.
Cutie.
All,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
your
cutie.
all your Green Bay Packer fans are coming out. The Green Bay Packers. I'm in Boston. I'm a Patriots fan. They beat the Patriots in '96. What did you? You must have watched. Maybe did you watch then? Were you into Brett Favre and all that? Of course.
Back then, I was more. I mean, I had a small child, and I was just, you know, starting in with Vince. So that year, I don't even remember.
Right. So
in terms of football, what happened?
yeah, I don't blame you. But they won the Super Bowl. It was amazing. They beat the Patriots. It was terrible for me.
Right.
What and then what happened?
Sorry, because I guess last weekend it was not good for you.
It was not good, and I was worried because if the Royal Rumble was bad and Roman Reigns won, I was gonna rage like you wouldn't believe. Roman Reigns is such a nice guy, but I just I did not want to see him win.
Right.
But
It's hard. He's had such
he's a hard time, yeah.
Yeah, you know, to be a good person, he's had a real hard time at all this. Before we go, don't let me forget.
Yes.
Anything of mine. There's one Facebook fan page.
Yeah.
And Martin Duggan, who's my personal assistant, he makes sure all the content, you know, he puts new stuff up all the time.
Yeah.
If you ever see a TR at the end of something, I've put it up personally, or if I comment to someone, I always put a TR at the end, and that's how you'll know it was not Martin, it was me.
Oh, okay.
So he's usually very good about putting an MD at the end or putting his name when he puts stuff up. So that on Facebook, on Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, and Instagram, I am the Terri Runnels, the same thing as I am on Twitter.
That's cool. So when you that's good to know when you respond.
To make sure there's not, you know, there's always little creatures that want to pretend to be others and pretend to be me. But yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of impersonation going around. I can't get anything done. You should be verified on Twitter. I should be verified on Twitter, but I got Joe Cronin's, you know, dead dad coming up and stuff. It's unbelievably terrible. But what did some of the UK fans are chiming in? Are you ever going to come back to the UK? Do you know when you're coming back to the UK?
You know, here's the crazy thing. You go to a place, you hype it up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. You literally, like the weekend after you get back, you get all these people going, when are you coming to the UK? Dude, I just got back from there.
You know what? That's been happening in the comments all night. Joe, ask her about Sonny's thing. Joe, ask her about this. And I'm like, we just talked about that.
Yeah, like, where were you?
Yeah, it's just, I can relate to that big time. What do you feel is your greatest accomplishment in pro wrestling? That's another one.
Oh, in pro wrestling.
Man, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
To me.
I think that I took the role of female manager.
Mm-hmm.
I think I literally showed that you can do a little of everything. I mean, I was able to use intellect to interview people, to you know, it was not just tits and ass. You know, I was able to showcase a little bit of brain and some class, actually, believe it or not. I feel like I brought to the game.
It was very powerful. Even the Marlena and everything you did, really, it was powerful. At that time, the women were powerful, but you really carried it on. Say like a Sherry Martel who wasn't there anymore. You carried that on. You know, after Sherry Martel, Sunny came in. You know, as like, you know, she was kind of like I'm a cheerleader. You know, and then you came in and kind of you brought that class, and also you brought that power with the cigar and everything. It just seemed powerful. You were in control. You were showing, people that what women could do, but you could also be helpless in the fact that China attacking you. So you play all these different characters, and that's what I liked about it the most. All these different things, you give it to you, you could do it. Even the wrestling that you didn't want to do. You still were in there. Nobody, I mean, obviously, like you said, that's the thing that people aren't saying, like, oh, the greatest wrestler ever was Terri Runnels.
Yeah. Never will you be able to say that about me.
But
I will say this, no matter what it was, even though I wanted to vomit because I was so, like, not wanting to do it, the minute I walked through that curtain, I gave it my all. I did the best job I could do. And, I give so much credit to my female counterparts who that was their thing, to wrestle. My thing was I wanted to manage and I wanted to do other things in my industry. But, I give them so much credit. I'm so proud of my girl, Jackie Moore, my PMS girl, going into... Isn't that what we all hear? Don't we all hear she's going into the Hall of Fame?
I heard, wait a minute.
That's what I'm hearing.
That leaked out the other day, and I saw a bunch of other stuff, and I was...
All these people ask me if
it
is true. I'm thrilled. Couldn't come to a more deserving person.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be unbelievable. You're going to... I mean, when did they ever, when did your deal with the Hall of Fame start too? Because those were questions I was getting earlier as well.
I don't have a deal with the Hall of Fame.
I mean, people were saying that they thought that, that would be something that would be up for you as well.
Here's my thing about the Hall of Fame. I really believe that there are so many wrestlers, both male and female, who are older, who have done so much more. Yeah. I don't like it when we give these Hall of Fame awards to people that are so young. Yeah. And there's, it's kind of like, wait a second.
Yeah, wait, we got to get to them first.
Right. So I'm really, that kind of thing. I would rather see some, I don't know if you want to call them more deserving, but some older people. And granted, I have, been around for a long, long time, and I've done a lot in a lot of different federations. But I still think that there are people that are maybe, deserving more so than I am. And it'll get to me.
Right. I got you there. But I would, I do agree, like you said, some other people could be there, but I would absolutely want to see you there as well. And...
I mean, Dustin, he's so deserving. But again, way too soon for him. In my estimation, like Edge and like Sunny and these Lita. It's
and
like,
Sunny, and she just sold her Hall of Fame ring on eBay too.
Did that really happen?
Oh yeah, that is absolutely real. I thought it was a joke too. It's not real. It was
bad. I'm disappointed to hear that.
I mean, the thing is, like, Triple H and Stone Cold did this podcast, and there's a controversy about China. She said some things about what Triple H did, then apologized, and interviewed with Russo that blew up and went crazy. And Triple H basically said, when you search the web and you look up China, that stuff comes up and whatever. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, what, Sonny now, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that when you start playing moral authority like that, you're, none of us are saints in that business. You know, what's the old saying? Every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future. I don't know.
Yeah.
Point being that no matter what you've done in the past, you are capable of going on to do great things, and no matter how great you are capable of screwing up and doing some dastardly things.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Do you think they should forgive China? And do you think she should be in the Hall of Fame someday?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. She's done way too much for this business to not be.
Yeah. I just don't. I didn't agree with that with the whole Google her thing. I mean, any kid could Google.
I don't think that's the real reason.
No. Yeah, I think it was a quick answer. And that being said, I think all you guys should be in there. What about you and Goldust going in at the same time? Is that something that could ever happen?
I don't know that he would want to share that. He might want all the spotlight on himself.
Yeah. I mean, really, the both of you could have your own separate moments and go in together. I'm sure that wouldn't
Together
happen.
yet separate.
What was that?
Together yet separate.
Yeah, separately but together. Yeah, at the same time would be nice. Yeah,
Right.
I would absolutely. That would be really cool. I would love that. Of course, I think we're getting to the end here. We'll wrap it up here real quick. I want to see if there's just anybody else who's really. You talked about persistency. I had a few questions that were sent like 700 times.
All right, let's have them.
So let's see if we can get to this. Michael MJ Smith, he sent this a million times, and then he sent an angry face. I see your face, Michael. Like, you better. I sent them all. Pick your favorites, he says.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. He asked about the. We sort of touched on this a little bit, but he did say, what was the Val Venus storyline like? How did it, affect you, professionally and personally? He feels. How did that go?
That was one of those where we were having to kiss in the scenes and in the storyline, and I did it just as if I were on any movie set. That was the storyline. I did it.
Yeah.
Dustin never had a problem with me doing it. I had great respect for Val. He had great respect for me. It was great. I loved. Val was always a great time to talk politics with. He was so awesome. He knew more about, he's from Canada.
Yeah.
He knew more about the U.S. politics than most of the boys. So he was a great mind, a great thinker, and I always enjoyed banter with him.
You hear that, Dave Rose? He's a Canadian caller. He's sometimes on my show, and he knows more about American politics than a lot of Americans. So yeah,
Listen, I have a Scottish friend.
Yeah.
Who's over in England. He actually works in Westminster, but he works for the Scottish. Gosh, I don't want to say this wrong. Anyway, long story short, he knows more about our politics than most Americans. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you just gotta spend time. Here we just react to social
media. His name is Ross McEwen. Hi, Ross.
Hey, Ross. I love the Scottish accent. I don't care too. I'd love to hear him talk.
Love him.
Hey,
hello, Martin Duggan. My PA, Martin Duggan. Who else? Who else do I want to say hello to?
Oh, I know Martin. He tweeted me earlier. He is cool. I love Martin. He was a cool guy. He's probably the one who set this whole thing up.
Yeah. Martin, Martin, of course, it's a different time zone. And he's so great when I'm, it's 10 o'clock here, or like now it's 11 o'clock. I'll send him a message, and I really think that he sleeps and the phone is like close by because he hears it and he pops up and answers and then goes back to sleep.
Well, then I got to shout out Justin Bailey. Hey, Justin Bailey, my producer, who does the same thing, the time zones. How they do this math, I don't know. But Terry, it was so good to have you here. We could go on for hours. I know that.
Thank you.
I could talk to you.
Fun.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm going to think of a million things later on that I should have said and asked you, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
I was going to say, here's the great thing.
Yeah.
We can have, just as Vince Russo and I have to do, we can have a part 2.
I'd love to do it. We will do a part 2 then. You guys will get the questions built up, and we'll go right into it again.
And I would love to have all of your Cronin's cronies.
Yeah.
And I would like for you to represent in your pajamas next time.
I will. I'm going to rep the craziest pajamas that you've ever seen.
All right, cool.
I ran in from work, but I'm telling you, next time it's going to be, I might even be weird.
Full-fledged pajama party.
Can I wear pink pajamas?
You can do whatever you desire because it's your show.
Exactly right. You're right. But I had to be careful. I'm going to wear pink next time, everyone. You hear me? Go.
I do want to say happy 2016.
Yeah.
Be nice to each other. Life's too short. And when you're down, instead of sitting there having a pity party, go do something nice for somebody else and turn everything around.
That's great advice. I wish I did that years ago. Because I should have. And you're right. That's great advice. You'll feel better. They'll feel better. You'll change their lives and your own at the same time. It's unbelievable.
You won't be a crotchety old ass.
Yeah. I've been known to be crotchety. But you should follow Terri Runnels on Twitter. At the Terri Runnels. Former WWE Diva. Absolutely a pleasure. This was one of the funnest interviews I've ever done. I had a blast.
And if you need the supplement, True Terry on Facebook.
True Terry on Facebook for that supplement. We talked about it earlier. If you didn't hear about it, go back and watch this whole thing back and listen to everything that you missed. This video will be uploaded probably in a few minutes on YouTube, and enjoy that. And do you have a YouTube also?
I don't know. I think I do. I don't know. Ask Martin.
But
Martin will know.
Well, real quick, there's one question I wanted to ask before we get out of here. This is the last one, how we transition into your family. Dakota, has she ever expressed any interest in wrestling, and what do you think she'll end up doing?
You know, she's got her pops, her dad, her mom, her Uncle Cody, her 2 other uncles by marriage, Sags of Knobs and Sags, the Nasty Boys,
Yep.
Tugboat. Anyway, she has not ever expressed a real desire to be in front of the camera, but she's majoring in communications, documentary film production, television production. So who knows? Maybe she'll go and work for Vince.
Yeah.
And be a producer.
Well, that'd be great.
She's great at everything she does. That's her problem right now, is she's so great at so many things. She has to decide. She's got to narrow it down and figure out which exact thing she wants to really do.
I had the exact same problem. I'm 31 now, but when I was her age,
smart. That's the problem.
we got to talk to her. Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard to figure it out. I went to school for communications as well.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. And Terry, I'll keep you on for a second real quick. And but everybody else, we're going bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.